Welcome to the Human Meme Podcast. I'm David Bowles, and today we will discuss the animal we blame. Somewhere in the last year, a group you belong to went looking for a villain. Maybe it was a workplace after a project collapsed. Perhaps it was a family after a holiday turned sour, or a whole country after a hard season of news. The group did not sit inside its own failure and ask what everyone in the room had done to cause it. It scanned the faces, found the one person who fit the mood, and set the entire weight of the trouble onto that single back. You felt the air in the room change when it happened. You may have felt the change move through your own chest. The problem had a face now, and a face can be sent away. That move is old. It runs deeper than the workplace and the country, older than writing itself in most of the places where it still survives. And when human beings reach for a body to carry their fear out of the room, they keep reaching for the same shape. A horned animal, dark, a ram or a goat, walked to the edge of the settlement and driven off into the waste with the sickness riding on its skull. This is a show about the patterns that copy themselves through us, the ideas that ride from one mind into the next and one century into the next and refuse to die. That is what a meme is, in the older and harder sense of the word. A pattern that installs itself in one generation and installs itself again in the next, carried forward whether or not a single person in the chain understands what they are handing on. I have spent years with the oldest one I know, and I have put it into a book. It is called The Black Ram, and the subtitle names the whole reach of it, the single beast behind the sacrifice, the heresy, and the purge, and what the cast-out can still do. The animal even walks onto the English stage as a weapon. In the first scene of Othello, a soldier named Iago sets out to destroy a great man. And he does it with a whisper, by turning the man into a beast in the ears of the city. The beast he reaches for is an old black ram, and the slur does its work before anyone stops to check a fact. A word can turn a neighbor into an animal you are allowed to drive out, and that is the oldest tool in the kit. The claim is plain, and it is hard to shake once you have seen it work. The scapegoat is one machine. It was built before recorded history, it is running this morning, and it puts on a fresh name in every age. We prefer to file it under metaphor, a figure of speech we coined, or under superstition, a thing our grandparents believed and we grew out of. Both files are wrong. Begin on the Nile. In the temples of Egypt, the ram was a god, the hidden power of Thebes, and at a city in the delta called Mendes, he was the soul of the dead, a dark animal who carried the sun down through the night and rose with it at dawn. Cross to the Hebrew Day of Atonement, and you meet two goats. One is killed for the Lord. The other stands while a priest lays the sins of the whole people onto its head with his hands, and then it is driven out into the wilderness toward a name the scholars are still arguing over, Azazel. That second goat, sent away loaded, is where our own word is born. In Athens they used a man. When plague or famine struck, a human victim was fed at public expense, led through the streets, and chased out past the walls to carry the disaster away on his body. The Christian centuries gathered up the goat-legged god Pan and the antlered god of the northern woods, pressed them into one horned black figure, and named him the devil. On a Friday in October of 1307, the King of France, buried in debt to the Knights Templar and hungry for the wealth of their order, had every Templar in the country seized in a single coordinated dawn and had tortured out of them a confession that they knelt to a goat-headed idol called Baphomet. That idol did not die with the order. 5 centuries later, a French occultist drew it as a winged goat. A mid-century picture book carried the image forward, and a California church took it up as its emblem so that a crime invented under torture became a living sign a person can wear today. The witch fires came in between in Würzburg and Bamberg and Trier and a Massachusetts village where a neighbor could be hanged or burned to explain a dead child or a failed harvest. In 1966, the machine put on a red armband when Mao's Cultural Revolution named its 5 black categories and turned a movement loose to cleanse itself by casting out the marked. And it has not stopped running. The manufactured enemy, the moral panic, the slow spread of watching over ordinary life, all of it executes the same program under newer skins. The Frenchman, René Girard, gave his life to this pattern, and his work is the backbone of the book. His word for the spark was mimesis. We want what our neighbors want because they want it, and that wanting curdles into rivalry, and the rivalry runs through a crowd until it has to land somewhere. A community under real strain cannot bear the truth that its trouble comes from within, from all of them at once. So it settles on one, loads the trouble onto that one, and drives it out. And here is the terrible engine of the thing. The casting out works. The fever breaks. Peace comes back into the room. Because the peace is genuine, the community learns nothing from it, and it waits for the next bad season to run the whole ride again. I did not want to leave you there, alone in a room with a machine that always wins. The last pages of the book belong to the other possibility, to the people who stood at the ragged edge of the crowd, marked and one breath from being driven out and turned to face it instead. Think of the witness who names the accusers, the judge who repents the verdict, the condemned who refuses the assigned part. These people have names. The judge who rose in a Boston meeting house and had his own guilt for Salem read aloud to the congregation was Samuel Sewall. A priest named Friedrich Spey heard the tortured confess, knew they were lying, and wrote the book that helped break the German trials. The pattern copies itself through human beings, and that is the source of its power. And it also copies through human choices, and a choice can break the other way. That animal in the barn is 5,000 years old. The decision to stop reaching for it sits on the table every single time. The Black Ram is out now from David Bowles Books, in paperback and for Kindle, with a free reading edition waiting on my site for anyone who wants to read it without paying a cent. If the patterns that run us are the reason you come here, this is the oldest and the deepest one I have found. Watch the next crowd that goes out hunting for a villain, and see if you can catch the shape of the horns. For the Human Meme Podcast, I'm David Bowles, wishing you a safe evening and an escaped tomorrow. Thanks for listening. Be a human meme